All right, I'd like to call this meeting of the West Southwest Milwaukee School Board to order. Mr. Keller, would you please lead us in the pledge?
I will. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Suzette, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Burns,
Present.
Mr. Becker,
Here.
Mrs. Kaiser's excused, Mr. Keller,
Here.
Ms. Deal. Here. Mrs. Carr. Here. Mr. Sikich.
I'm here remotely. I'm here.
Proper notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with the open meeting laws of the state of Wisconsin. Do we have any modifications to the agenda this evening?
There are no modifications.
All right, then we'll move right into the superintendent's report.
Thank you. I'm going to try to be as brief as possible so we can get to the more important parts tonight, especially the recognitions that we have for several of our students. So legislative updates, Governor Evers signed into law a new legislation to allow board members to volunteer as school bus drivers. And so I'm sure this will benefit some of our smaller districts throughout the state to make sure that we have enough manpower to adequately get our young boys and girls to school. From me personally, I do want to send a special shout out to all of our leaders in the district, central office, as well as our principals. I want to thank everyone for a great leadership kickoff on Monday, August 7th and Tuesday, August 8th. It was a great day of learning, collaboration, and team building. I appreciated everyone's committing to the two-day work experience and being open to learning and growing together. It is truly going to be a great year. And we do have several pictures that from this particular, these couple of days that are available for viewing. Just wanted to kind of highlight some visits since our last meeting. August 1st, reception hosted by the city of West Allis. August 2nd and 3rd, I participated in the WASDA first year Superintendent's Academy in Stevens Point, Wisconsin. We successfully completed all of our July one-on-one meetings with board members. I would definitely want to thank you guys for being open and available. And I really just enjoyed the conversation. It was truly a great experience for me to get to know you guys better. Completed all of the principal and school orientations. We focus on the 7 levers of effective leadership. And so I want to definitely thank as well the principals for being prepared and just really being open to any suggestions that were given, but also to our cabinet team for supporting this effort as well. I also met with the Rotary Club actually on today, and we discussed how we can strengthen our relationship and provide additional service opportunities and partnerships for the district. Several announcements I do want to make. We are going to have a back to school bash on August 30th, and it's going to be held at the West Allis Farmers Market. We from 6 to 8 p.m. We want to invite the entire community to come out. Board members, we definitely want to see you there and part of this particular event. We'll have food, sand art, games, have a DJ. I may even dance a little bit. We'll see what happens. There will be some school participation, school supplies given out, as well as a photo booth for the community to participate. We're also going to have our welcome home walks on the 31st. During the orientation, several principals pointed out to us, students where we're having some chronic absenteeism from the last school year. And so what better way to engage those families as well as those students than visiting their homes, letting them know how we're looking forward to seeing them that next week, and just welcome them home to our schools. We think it's a good way to engage the community and just to make sure that we start out the year on a good note. All school principals are encouraged to participate, as well as cabinet members. We would love to have you guys to walk with campuses if you're available as well. So just another engagement opportunity for our schools. I want to, at this time, it is just about their football season. And the sports fan that I am, as well as the big cheerleader that I can be, I wanted to give a special shout out and invited all of our captains from Central and Hale here tonight. Before we introduce them, I do want to encourage the community to come out this Friday. Hale will be playing Waukesha North at Waukesha North at 7 p.m. And this Friday, Central will be playing Wauwatosa West at 7 p.m. at Tosa West. This year, our captains, I want them to stand when I call their school. So Central, go ahead and stand up. We have Jacob Sanders and Armonte Cooper. They're the captains for the 2023 football season. So let's give them a round of applause, please. And we want to recognize Hale's captains, Owen Lytle and Caden Lee. Give them a hand. We are trying to build up that camaraderie between our schools, and we think it's a good opportunity to do that through a variety of ways. But the first action as a superintendent was just to bring them here and to let them know how proud we are that they've been selected as captains. And as I stated to them earlier, there are a lot of expectations, but we expecting them to lead their respective teams this year. And that is going to actually kick off my next thing really quick before we start taking some pictures. So I want us to take pictures with the captains. Battle of the Dogs, September 15th. It will be Central versus Hale, Battle of the Dogs cookout. And so on that day, prior to the game, we will be having a cookout. So the deal is you buy a game ticket, you get a free cookout ticket. So we want to start hyping that event up 1 month out. We think that that's enough time to generate some buzz, generate some excitement, and at the same time, show that these kids that we are behind them 100%. And so I want to thank them again for their leadership. And I want to encourage the community to get behind our schools and our football teams this year as they go out and represent us in a positive manner. So can we go ahead and take a picture with the captains right quick?
Certainly.
All right.
I don't know.
Whole group, 2, 7, 9.
I could photobomb you. We could both.
That would be great. I just want to give my kid bunny ears.
It'd be best if you.
James, just give my kid bunny ears. That would make me happy.
Yeah, everybody. There we go.
Everybody's being part of this, especially proud mom here. I know.
All right, that was great. Right here, 1, 2, 3, 7. Awesome. Okay, thanks, Brad. Very awesome.
Friday,
Yeah, go get some.
Make sure the right.
It's so many. Now I feel bad for photobomb.
Yeah. Dr. Robinson, they're okay to go, right?
Yeah, they're
Okay, yeah, you're good.
And that
Thanks, guys.
concludes the superintendent's report.
Okay, thank you very much. Moving on, we're on to number 7, our public comments for this evening. For anyone who's listening via Zoom, if you'd like to address the board for 3 minutes, you may do so. On the topic, you must start with your name and address. And there will not be any back and forth with the board, but if there is a simple question or comment that we can clarify after your comments are concluded, we will do that. And any official response will be done by the next regular board meeting. Right now, we don't have anyone signed up for public comments, so I'll just wait 15 seconds in case anyone who's been watching on Zoom just came in, and there should be a link in the chat to be able to sign up for public comments.
How some teachers, and I'm not trying to throw any teachers under the bus or anything like that, not at all. But how some were like, when we're in class, it's like, they couldn't be on their phones, but if they got their work done and everything like that, then the teachers, would then say, okay. So is that part of what that means, that the teachers have that discretion? Or I'm just curious, because I know that was something that the kids had asked a lot in these discussion groups. about is, having a little bit of that freedom back as kind of a reward. And so I'm just wondering if at any point, if that will culminate into that or.
Mhm.
not.
So based on the conversation in the secondary committee, these expectations are what they would like to see happening all day long. So because that then gets into right, different expectations in different rooms,
Mhm.
leading to conflict.
Right, which
often.
I totally get. I guess
Um,
I guess the bigger question is just, will every teacher understand that? Because that was the expectation at the end of the year last year.
Mhm.
And that isn't exactly how it was carried out, kind of a thing. And so I guess I'm just looking at it that way. As far as that goes, not that we have that, like kids coming home going, oh, well,
Yeah.
this teacher lets us do that, but this one doesn't. And my son looks at me like, well, you told me we weren't gonna be able to do that. You know what I mean? Cause I'm in that spot where as a board member and as a parent of a high schooler,
Yeah.
I get those looks, and I also get that, at this age and in this era, that is like a third hand to a lot of us. I mean, adults too, and so I personally was like, I could see that, as a reward, that wouldn't be the worst thing in the world, but I'm just wanting to make sure that if that's not going to be a thing, that then every teacher is on that same page. And if not, then I guess there needs to be sort of a level 1, 2, or 3 for the teachers because, well, you know what I'm saying though? Because I hear that from my kids. Well, this teacher lets us do it, but this one doesn't. Well, if the teachers aren't following those
Sure.
expectations, how do you expect the kids to? So I guess that's my bigger thing is if this is what we're gonna do and it's no phones except for at lunch and that's it, then that's how it has to be across the board. Because I can't look at my kid and try and tell him, well, you know what I mean? It's very hypocritical. So I guess I just want to make sure that that is how it's gonna be.
No, I agree. That type of inconsistency creates a lot of problems. And
Yeah.
So we're expecting that there will be some consistency across the board. In this particular case, nobody's know if I'm old enough to remember cell phones being an option for research. We
Right.
have laptops now.
Right.
Following the COVID, we have enough laptops where they need to do research. You
Mhm.
don't need phones to do research anymore. We have
Right.
laptops for that, our Chromebooks.
Mhm.
So I don't even think that's an issue. I think it's an issue of are we teaching bell to bell? And our kids having conversations are involved in type of dialogue and not wasting time. Because that's a wasting time where,
Mhm.
yeah, you can go ahead and get on your phone. That's not a good way to use effective way to use time
Mhm.
in classroom. So that's something we can discuss as far as like how that actually looks and how do we monitor that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
But that impression that we're going to leave on our principals is they need to be monitoring that kind of stuff and making sure the teachers are teaching.
Mhm. Yeah, they have to set the example too.
And the good news is they'll know.
Yeah.
There's no 16-year-old kid not telling everyone their teacher lets them do it.
Oh, for
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I
It's that
think
whole
the principals will find
accountability
out
thing.
shortly if that happens.
Right,
I
yeah.
think. So
Yeah.
now if they don't do it, that's another question.
Right.
And I do think they're very committed to this, so I think the levels are now as we welcome back staff, making sure our staff are aware of these changes that, right? And ensuring our systems are really solid in all of our schools around this, and then welcoming students and being like many times referring back to this, right? Because we know it can't just happen at the beginning of the year. So
Mhm.
I agree that it's levels with that. We have to be on the same page as adults so that we can be on the same page with kids.
Yeah, consistency is going to be very important for these things, and yes. Although I can see like, oh, it's a benefit, or you got your work done, great, but. Some people saying they got their work done, they actually getting their work done to different things, and then someone has to manage that, and so I think that's just being consistent and saying, you get it here and that's it. And move forward from there, and just making sure they're saying the same messages over and over again. And hopefully staff will understand that, and even if they don't necessarily agree with it, we'll do their job and ensure that it's being enforced so that everyone can learn, which is the kind of main point of everything happening here. So, yeah. Any other comments or questions? Mr. Sickett, did you have anything on this? No, he is okay. I guess the last little bit on this that I just wanted to say is because with the cell phones, I know last year we did it for a small portion of time. I know there was staff that were utilizing phones in classrooms for research and things like that. Just ensuring we're staying on top of making sure we have enough Chromebooks for people so that they can do what they need to do in class. And if that becomes an issue, that we get on it right away. Because it will become harder for teachers to not allow students to use phones if we don't have the technology to support the work they're trying to do. So I just want to make sure we're staying on top of that. Mr. Burns.
I'm sorry, the last thing I have, because we talked about when we did this in the spring, but are there, is there verbiage or anything for the kids that are using the phone that have like IP openings or other like other reasons that they have their phone? Because there was some
Exceptions.
Yeah.
the exceptions pieces of for whatever mental component or whatever learning component that they have access to that. Is there anything?
So I think there has to be an IEP. If it's in an IEP, then it
Right.
would.
I mean, that's legal, but you know,
Yeah.
it's just if there's, because there's other kids, especially with mental health again, stuff that they're using that, or they're on the
Yeah.
headphones so that they can do their work while they're
Yeah.
whatever, like, do we have a something with this policy that says except something about that?
I don't know that we necessarily have to, because if it's a provision in their IEP that it was determined that it was something that they need to have for that, then that essentially that's the legal document that we need to follow. Because there's other things that kids use and get in IEPs that in other situations for regular students, regular classrooms aren't being used. So
Yeah, and I mean, the IP is the far end of it, but then there's just the not legal part where there are exceptions that are made just for the benefit of.
Like a 504, you mean?
Maybe
Like
even a 504,
you
maybe
know.
just like the kid's doctor said, look, they
That
work
was just-
really well
yeah.
if they are. You know, listening to music, that would be a great accommodation to make for them. So that they're more engaged in the classroom.
yeah,
You know, and I get
Sometimes
you
it's
can
not
listen
about
to music on the
laptops.
computers and things, and that's fine,
Right.
but like.
Yeah.
There are times where if you're, you know, in. Not accessing that computer or you're on a test or whatever, and you're just listening to, you know,
Mhm.
a cleared
Mhm.
music list or whatever. I don't know, but like, I know that I had things like that.
I think that's getting into an area that's gonna be hard to manage,
Yeah.
without an IEP or
or. a
They're
504,
504, they
Yeah.
would have some sort of IEP documentation that goes along with that, that would be an accommodation. But you really are getting into an area, if you don't have that official documentation,
Right,
anybody can go to the doctor and say, hey, write my son this.
Yep.
See, just like you have burner phones, you're gonna have parents who are gonna try to find some exceptions.
I'm
sorry, go ahead.
No, and I understand that. The only other thing that I'd say is just even just having something in there that accommodations may be made for students. with IEPs or 504s, Because you're gonna have
No, I
parents that
agree.
read this.
I was just
I
gonna say, just to kind of
Yeah,
answer
just
questions that
with the
might get
IEP.
flooded with eventually anyway.
I think that
That's
could be,
fair,
I mean,
cut a
the
lot out.
communication that goes out, I think that should be sufficient.
Mhm.
But that is where we drew the line last year too. It's
Mhm.
exactly right there.
The other thing that should be in the communication is we need your help in ensuring your students are adhering to these rules.
right.
Because if mom and dad are saying, oh, it's fine, you can use it whenever you want, it's gonna make it really hard to enforce these things in schools. And we don't want kids to miss school because of this.
Right.
So we definitely need the parents' help and support. The guardians, whoever is the trusted adult in that student's life to help reinforce this within our schools so that we have hopefully fewer problems.
Mhm.
Anything else? Because if not, we still need to do some other things this evening.
Good feedback. Thank you.
Again, thank you for the work on this. I know it was a lot of work to be done. But hopefully we have a model now moving forward. Well, it won't be such a massive lift moving forward when we need to make changes and adjustments. Maybe something where we update our policies twice a year. You know, maybe update the code of conduct once a year as well with the changes as we see fit. Or if not, not great, but at least we've reviewed it and looked at it. So thank you for that. So with that, move on to our action items this evening, starting 11.1, 24-25 high school course catalog. Not what we were talking about. We're gonna do this one first.
Well, Jane did a great job of kind of summarizing it. So a lot of the updates that you all have seen in the course catalog proposed for 24-25 are name changes. So adding Dr. Robinson in there, right? We're also talking about, we've removed, I believe, 2 courses that we no longer offer, and then we are adding mindfulness, which is a course you all approved in the past few months here. So I think that's pretty straightforward, but does anyone have any questions on the changes to the 24-25 course catalog?
Any questions on the document before us?
Move to approve.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any last minute discussion? All those in favor? And Jeff, Mr. Sigich also said aye. Opposed? All right, that passes. Thank you very much. Moving 11.2, student code of conduct, which we just went through. So it's the same document we just looked at, so no changes since we discussed it last. Any last minute discussion or conversation that we want to have? Always I look for a motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Sikich also said aye. Opposed? Okay, that passes. Thank you very much. And then lastly, 11.3, the secondary cell phone expectations. I believe it's all cell phone expectations, the secondary in here, but it's both elementary,
Yes.
intermediate and secondary expectations that we just went through. So any last minute comments or discussion on that? Always I'd look for a motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Sikich also said aye. Opposed? All right, that passes. Thank you very much. And so this ends our business portion of the meeting, but before we convene in a second executive session, I'm just gonna call for that so we can do a roll call vote, and we'll take a 5-minute break so that we can break everything down. So I would look for a motion and a second to convene into executive session in accordance with Wisconsin statute 19.85, parent 1, parent G, to confer with the district's legal counsel regarding a boundary detachment appeal and notice of claim.
So moved.
Second. Can we do a roll call, please?
We're missing Jeff.
I think we
Miss-
forgot to say it. That's why I was worried. That's why I looked at Amy, because she usually writes it down.
Mrs. Lee,
Yes.
Mrs. Kaiser's excused. Mr. Sikich will also be excused for closed session. Mr. Burns,
Yes.
Mrs. Carr,
Yes.
Mr. Keller,
Yes.
Mr. Becker,
Yes.
Ms. Deal,
Yes.
President Lee.
Yes. All right, now we'll take a 5-minute recess. Thank you very much, everyone.